Well, Texas Senator Ted Cruz has been a polarizing figure since going to Washington. So far, he has not won a single endorsement from any other senators in his bid for the White House. But he is drawing massive support from a small group of so-called rebel House Republicans. Joining me now are John McCormick, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, and Betsy Woodruff, political reporter for the Daily Beast. Nice to see you both.
Good to be here.
So let's just start with you, John. Could this be an effort on some level from Republicans to try to draw together other supporters, other Republicans, under a non-Trump banner?
Well, certainly. I think this is a big effort that Cruz has had going in Iowa. You've seen a lot of crucial endorsements come out in that state in the last month or so, particularly Steve King of Iowa. You know, he's a staunch conservative congressman. He sat out of 2012 in the Republican primary, didn't endorse anybody. He just came out for Cruz back in November. I think that he's very helpful to Cruz. And, you know, all these conservative members, they can also help Cruz in this fight he's been having with Marco Rubio over immigration. You know, Cruz has been attacked for the fact that he's shifted to the right on immigration, but these members can talk about how Cruz is really one of the very few members of the Senate who actually helped them in their fight to stop the immigration bill back in 2013.
Okay, and Betsy, you say that in the past endorsements have been an indication of momentum, but these are certainly not across the board.
Of course, and what's funny about this election, of course, is that Donald Trump hasn't picked up any endorsements by current members of the House or members of the Senate. So on the one hand, yes, it's obviously helpful to Cruz that he has these potential surrogates and advocates. On the other hand, though, it's hard to really game out just how helpful they will be. That said, one of the most important endorsements that Cruz has picked up, or at least one of the most valuable, is from Jim Bridenstine. He's a Republican from Oklahoma, and when Marco Rubio's backers charged that Ted Cruz was weak on defense because of the vote he took that changed how the NSA kept track of Americans' metadata, Bridenstine said, absolutely not, this is ridiculous, I'm a Navy pilot, you're impugning Ted Cruz's patriotism, you're impugning my patriotism, and the way that Bridenstine was able to sort of hit back at that criticism was really valuable for Cruz, as his poll numbers show. So these endorsements do matter, but it's hard to really pin down exactly how much.
Interesting. Now, John, you say that the most important of the endorsements is from Representative Steve King of Iowa. He, of course, is popular among evangelicals. Why do you think that that is such a critical endorsement?
Well, you've seen Cruz has an Iowa first strategy. He has to win Iowa, or, you know, it doesn't seem like his campaign's going to go so far. So, you know, King's been very instrumental. Cruz has gotten some other big endorsements in Iowa. You know, on the other hand, you know, the endorsement of these rebel House members, it sort of underscores what a lot of Republicans don't like about Ted Cruz. You know, the fact that his tendency to attack other Republicans rather than liberal Democrats. You know, these people are known as sort of the suicide caucus by some Republicans in Washington. You know, going back to the government shutdown in 2013. Ted Cruz is instrumental in that, and these members sort of, you know, have the idea that there's no problem that can't be solved by a government shutdown. So, you know, a lot of Republicans, they kind of balk at that. They think that's a foolish strategy, and I think that's why, you know, some of these endorsements could remind people of the tendency they don't like about Cruz, and you're seeing it again with Cruz going after someone like Marco Rubio, a fellow conservative, over an issue like immigration, but being unwilling to attack Donald Trump for his liberal positions on, you know, Canadian-style health care, supporting single-payer health care, and the fact that Trump, you know, supported partial birth abortion the day before yesterday.
Interesting. You mentioned that he's not really attacking Donald Trump. So, Betsy, you know, the Wall Street Journal says that Cruz is one of the most unliked men in Washington, but the Cruz campaign has basically said that that can work in his favor because perhaps, would you say that he's trying to show himself as a non-Washington person?
Without a doubt, and the more that people in Congress dislike Cruz, the better that is when he reaches out to these Tea Party and conservative Republican primary voters who are really frustrated with the status quo in D.C. Now, what's a little curious about Cruz's situation is that two of his closest allies in Washington, despite this, have actually kept mum. Those, of course, are Senator Jeff Sessions and Senator Mike Lee. Neither of them have yet endorsed in this primary. Both of them potentially could make a difference with their endorsements, and Cruz has worked with them extensively on Capitol Hill. They've supported him and worked together in the past on fights like immigration and even to an extent on the government shutdown in October 2013. So the fact that they're quiet has sort of raised some eyebrows. Even the people who like Ted Cruz aren't currently coming out to support him, and that might be a liability.
Interesting. Good insight from you both. Nice to see you, Betsy Woodruff and John McCormick.